Welcome, CvCISO Podcast listeners. This is episode 20 of the CvCISO Podcast. Thank God we have Meg here because Meg can count better than I can, and she also reminds me which podcast this actually is. This is the CvCISO Podcast. And today, it's just me, Meg, and we have a special guest. Jordan is absent this week. So, Meg, it's your show. If you don't mind, introduce your guest and let's talk.
Awesome. So with us, we have Sonal Chandler. And the reason Sonal and I were chatting a little bit and we had something in common. She's a little further along in her journey, but we are both non-technical people that kind of entered the space. And so instead of me introducing Sonal, I thought I'd have her introduce herself.
Oh, Sonal. Welcome, Sonal.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I really appreciate it. So like Meg said, I'm Sonal Chandler. I run a company called Minerva Consulting, which focuses on cyber risk management and AI readiness. And I've got a background in managing technology and security projects for over 20 years and finally decided that I needed to go off and do this on my own. And as I've started this journey of running a company and establishing my presence, I decided that I really needed to also figure out, how to get some credibility. And, going and getting certified with some things was my first step. And I've had some experience working with the S2 product in a prior life, also engaging with FR Secure. And that's the first place I turned when I thought about, how am I going to get better at this? And so here we are.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So you said Minerva Consulting? Yeah.
Minerva. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell us, if you don't mind sharing, if people want to know more about you and your company, what's the website?
Yeah. So it's minervaconsultinginc.com.
Okay.
And I also host a podcast, so would love to kind of cross-pollinate here, but it's a podcast called Minerva Meets, and we focus on the challenges that happen at the intersection of business and technology, as well as I write a blog on Minerva.com on MinervaInc.com called MindSpark, where I talk a little bit about AI and cybersecurity, and I'd love to just sort of do more of that as I learn more.
It's very cool. Yeah, I'm on your website now. I'm checking it out. It's pretty cool.
All right. Yeah, I do. I'll be completely honest. I need to make some updates to it. So we're in the process.
Yeah.
That's always the case. It seems like you just go through these phases. Like, I don't know if you ever saw you probably haven't seen, but the very first version of the frsecure.com website was, I made it while I was laying on my bed in my bedroom, and it's embarrassing what it used to, what it looked like. I'll have to find that. If you go to the Wayback Machine, I don't know if you've ever been to the Wayback Machine, you can find a copy.
Wayback Machine. Tell us more. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
The Wayback Machine. If you go to web.archive.org.
All right, I'm pulling this up. Hold on.
So go to web.archive.org and then type in a URL, and this is the Wayback Machine. So you can go and look. It's an archived version of websites and things like that. So if you go back to 2008 and just, for frsecure.com, for instance, and just pick a date, you can see what the website used to look like way back then. Yeah.
Nice.
We all learned something today. Yay.
Yeah,
we
got
did.
an awesome
Thank you.
guest.
Okay, we're done.
Okay.
No.
We're done.
We've got so much more to learn about Sonal and Meg, because like you guys said, you guys both come from there's so many paths into this industry, right? There is the technical path, and I think falsely a lot of people think that that's the only way, and actually that's not. That's not just not the only way. I would say it's also it's not the most common way. And I would say it's probably not the most useful way. Our job as information security people are to enable and empower the business to fulfill their mission, to make more money, not to buy more technology. So I'm going to shut up at that and let you guys talk about this.
Yeah. So first, Sonal, I'm curious, what made you talked a little bit about this, saying that you were trying to get more credibility, but what made you decide to join the CvCISO program?
Well, like I said, I'd mentioned having exposure to FR Secure, and I was actually on the other side of the assessment process. So not necessarily administering the assessment, but answering the questions, right? I was on the client side. And it just was such a great structure, especially at the time I was in an early stage startup and we were simply trying to get cybersecurity, right? And we needed to show or demonstrate that, okay, we did have some sort of framework in place. And looking at this, at the structure how I was answering these questions, and it really just kind of stuck with me. And then as I decided to go on this journey on my own, I realized I need to have some sort of foundation, a framework, and some structure. And so, I remembered this S2 product. So I, kind of went off and investigated that. But then, I want to be able to understand the details of this stuff. So, I may never be the person that's doing the hands-on configuration, and I'm completely okay with that. But I want to be the one that can at least explain it to the business, explain it to my clients so that there's some trust in who they're dealing with. And that's kind of what took me on this journey and what got me to really say, okay, yeah, this is the one for me.
So have you learned, because there's different ways that you can go in the this industry. There's a lot of different paths, as Evan mentioned. There's a lot of different outcomes too. So when I first decided to go on this journey, really, it wasn't in my mind at that time to be in an educational role in this journey. And originally it was more wanting to, I don't know, embark in some other way, wasn't really sure which way. But the technical piece was a trip up for me. So how do you overcome that? Did you take classes, go to school? What did you do?
So I do have a background in technology. I went to school and got my master's in information technology. So I do have that exposure. And I'm like a lifelong program manager, if you will, where I've managed technical people, technical projects, but I've never been the one that's done the hands-on configuration. And so I've been able to, I've been in this role where I've had to translate technology to C-level suite people. And so being in that space, I feel like I've had a little bit of an advantage. But going through the program has given me a perspective that I don't think I ever had before, which is, like, for example, we all know what chapter 2 is about, right? Like chapter 2 just, it blew my mind, right? It really helped me understand what happens in the background of this machine that I'm talking through, right? Or even just what security is at all levels, right? And so that really exposed me. And I don't think I had that exposure before joining this program because I just always relied on the people that were telling me how things were happening. And now I actually can go in and I understand what's happening. And I think there's a little bit of an advantage that you get from that. So there's like kind of coming out of this, I think I've got, some more confidence and better knowledge about, what's happening really in the background. And I like to kind of figure out how things work so that I can explain them better. So that's been really nice.
And for the listeners that haven't been through the program, chapter 2 is all the technical part. It's half the class. And Evan does a great job of taking you through kind of the fundamentals of technology, not going too deep, although sometimes it felt really deep to me. So that's what chapter 2 is all about.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big challenge. Sorry, someone, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, that's the big challenge. It's always been a challenge, is trying to find people and meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the same background. Not everybody is, read packets for a living, can read packets like it's a book. Some of us come from, that's always the challenge, because you can go deep into any one part of information security, into the technical stuff, or you could go deep into the governance stuff, or you could go deep into the HR stuff, right? I mean, I think the one that's probably the most intimidating for people is the technical stuff. And I think one of the reasons, honestly, is just the people in technology. I think oftentimes we can be very intimidating to people who don't speak our language. We use words, we posture a lot. If you put a whole bunch of technical people, hackers or not, sysadmins, whatever, in a room together and just record what their conversations are, oftentimes it's this posturing, like, I did this, I did that. And if you're somebody who doesn't have that background and you're trying to get into that herd, I can only imagine it would feel helpless.
Yeah.
And so we have to take that away. And hopefully chapter 2, does that. I think the very worst information security decisions you can make are the ones that are made without context. And so I think the main focus for chapter 2 is just to try to provide context.
Yeah. I think it's great. And I think I think throughout the whole course, we talk about how security is not just an IT thing, right? And I think this really helps bridge that gap, I guess, if you will, right? Like, or even just start building the bridge between all of the other departments within an organization and IT, right? So that if you've got someone like me who, hasn't necessarily done hands-on configuration, but I get technology, I can be that champion across the organization and start building those relationships to really bring some awareness to security. And that's what I hope to do as I kind of get into, some of these organizations, to educate, but also, bring them along, right? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation.
You're going to resonate with people, a different group of people than I'm going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you have a different background. People will relate to you differently than they'll relate to me. Mm-hmm. And so that's, another thing, we struggle with just in like society is this diversity thing. And it's not diversity for the sake of just because we're different. It's the different perspectives you bring to the problems. Mm-hmm. You see something from your background differently than I might see something.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you bring those things together, like this is how Sonal sees the problem. This is how Evan sees the problem. This is how Meg sees the problem. When we all have enough respect for each other that we can all like incorporate, oh shit, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of the solutions you can create that are actually empowering. And so that's why I'm so like angry, I think, about the posturing that we do in our industry, because rather than intimidating people, rather than telling people, well, you have to have a technical background, because I've heard that so many times over the years. Like, you can't be in information security. You don't even have CISSP. It's like, the hell, that doesn't matter. Yeah. What matters is their perspective. Mm-hmm. There are every single person, that I've ever worked with in information security brings value to the table when you actually stop and listen, because this is a people problem. This is not a technology problem.
Yeah.
So
don't you think though, Evan, that, it's the whole supply and demand thing. If the industry is demanding the certs, then they do become somewhat relevant and important.
They're definitely relevant, but back it up a minute and ask why. I mean, one of the things I don't necessarily like so much is people don't ask why enough.
Yeah.
Always ask why. Even if you're a business person, a CEO of an organization, and your VCISO or your CISO is telling you need to do this, ask why. And if you still don't understand, it's not that you're stupid, because I've had lots of CEOs who, well, I don't want to sound stupid. Obviously, you're not stupid. You're the CEO of the organization. And if for some reason I'm making you feel stupid, well, then I should take that as input, in the way I
Yeah.
present things to you. But why? Why? So, if you just take that one thing, a CISSP, it's required for this job. Okay. Why? Well, because you have to have a certain level of knowledge. Okay. Is this the only way that you can get that knowledge? Or are there other ways that I could get this knowledge? It's not that a CISP is bad. It's when you overemphasize its importance that it becomes bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And asking why just, opens the door for so much creativity too, right? In terms of solutioning, right? So like if you can really, really understand the why, I think you can get to some really creative solutions that maybe you never really even thought of, right? There could be this, just let's take that example that you just gave. Like, what if we did some on the job training that helped you prepare to get to that level if that was a cert that you wanted? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an opportunity to just open the door for creativity too.
You run into the same thing with degrees.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have to
yeah.
have a degree. Well, why? I mean, why would you have to? Because if I'm hiring, for something, I'm hiring for somebody who can do the something I need to get done. And sometimes, certifications might demonstrate to me a certain level of knowledge, but at the end of the day, as the hiring manager, I'm wondering, can you do what I need you to do?
Yeah.
Can you provide value to my team? And so this is a Pandora's box because you have, God, I mean, I don't know some huge percentage of hiring managers who don't even know what the hell they're hiring for.
Yeah.
And then you've got a whole bunch of people trying to fill that demand who don't even know what the hell they're filling it for.
Right.
So it's just like this. We need to just get rid of the confusion and, get back to the things that really are, the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, think about all those job descriptions. Have you read any of those lately?
God,
They're
yeah.
awful. They're awful. I mean, like, you literally have to be this like rock solid superhero to be able to like get the job based on the job description. Right.
And then you're going to pay me $50,000 a year.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and so I was talking to a friend of mine on Wednesday. He is a mentee of mine, and he was talking about how he's hiring for, an apprenticeship, position. I was like, and I told him, I said, I should apply for that. I'm thinking, because I'm at this stage in my career where maybe I should apply for some open entry-level positions or apply for some internships and then document the whole experience.
That would
'Cause
actually be
I'm guessing
interesting.
I'm
What would
guessing
you
I could
do with
probably
that
hold down,
information?
educate. I would love to see what it's like, because again, valuing other people's perspectives is so important. I don't know what it's like to be anybody other than me, obviously, but I don't know what it's like to be somebody who's struggling to try to get a job right now in this industry. Because I'm not there. I got into this industry almost on accident, in the 90s. So what is it actually like? And then when you do get that job, what is it like to have a manager? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it'd be really intriguing because I would love to get advice like, no, Evan, that's not how you do that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, thank you.
No. Share with us your career path. I'm curious
Yes.
about your career path.
Sure. Yeah. No. So I actually started off, as a consultant at Delta Airlines, and was in at the time it was called Delta Technology. So it was the technology arm of Delta Airlines, and I was an analyst. Just sort of running point on different types of projects, and then fortunately I had a really great manager who I still keep in touch with today, who sort of pushed me to take some risks with my career, and eventually started doing a lot of program and project management. And at the same time, I had gone back to get my master's in IT, And full disclosure, it was because everybody around me was going back to get their masters. And I was like, well, shit, I got to do something too. And so, I was like, this thing sounds good. So I went and did it. And then next thing you know, I was putting together and breaking apart computers, right? And I was like, whoa, I did not sign up for this, but I learned. And that helped me, just sort of continue on the path of managing some really complex technology projects. And then I had an opportunity to run like an identity and access management project. And that really opened my eyes to, oh, wow, there's this whole other world. And so kind of did a lot of that and eventually, just stumbled into startup world and did a lot of, product development and more business related activities. And as I realized that I wanted to get back into more technical things. And because that's what I really enjoyed is like, you walk into that room and there's that one person who is like heads down, doesn't want to talk to anybody, just let me do my work. And, I find that one person and I'm like, I want to get to know them because I want to understand what's driving them. Right. And how are they contributing to the overall success of this product we're developing or whatever it is. And so I really like kind of aligning with them and understanding what they're doing. I ask a lot of questions. It's like now they see me like coming and they're actually smiling when I get there versus, kind of harsh. So, so I just kind of did that. And now here I am, want to run my own business and I want to do it for myself. And so, for me, it was like, well, if I'm going to do it on my own, I really need to make sure I understand what I'm doing, especially because when it comes to things like security or, consulting somebody on their business, it's important to make sure that the recommendations I'm giving them really make sense, right? And that they're sound.
Right. So earlier you had mentioned how Chapter 2, and just, so everybody knows, Sonal has not finished the program. Yeah. She's currently in the middle of taking it. So she's entering, they're just getting into the second half of the course, which is all the hands-on stuff. So it's, your perspective is limited because you haven't finished the course, but I'm curious, how has the course added value to your business or yourself thus far?
Yeah, well, I can start with myself in the sense that it's definitely given me a lot more confidence, right? Because, like I said, I've been on the receiving end of the assessment, and as I kind of joined into the program and became a partner, I was like, well, how the hell am I going to actually administer this? Right? Like, well, how do I start? Right. So this like next part of the course is something I've been really looking forward to because I want to understand, how do I do this and how do I do it right? And, so yeah, I probably like digressed even from the question, but that's one of the pieces that has benefited me personally and even for my business, right? Because I want to get out there and do a baseline assessment for somebody, but how do I get that started? And that's the piece that I'm really looking forward to getting started with.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say is, it's not all about the tool, right? There's the whole policy piece of this that I think has helped me because I've had a lot of conversations with different clients who don't even have policies around this in place. And so that has helped me from a business perspective just to even get them started with some baseline policies that they can just literally use these templates and let's get going. And you're already one step better, so.
Yeah, Sono mentioned the templates, our website at securitystudio.com. We have a plethora of templates available that people can use and
that's a funny word.
Make their own.
Plethora. Every time I hear that word, I think of Three Amigos. If you guys have ever seen that movie,
makes me do my plethora. No, well, it goes back to meeting people where they're at too, right? It's it's so easy to judge, and to judge, quickly. But there are those people that you're talking about that don't have policies. They're actually in the majority.
Yeah.
There's more of those people than there are. And so you could judge or you could help, meet them where they're at. The worst part of, and then what motivates me, and as I'm looking at your website, man, there's so many like ways to work together, because at the end of the day, I just hate seeing people get taken advantage of. And so the people that you send out into the field to consult on information security, which is a really critical part of their business, you just want them to do it right. And
Yeah.
and it's not like I have all the answers either. That was part of the thing of developing the course, was just put it out there. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then open yourself up to criticism, hopefully constructive criticism. Open yourself up. And it takes a while in your career before you can get that confidence that you're talking about, Sonal, where if you ask me why, I can defend the why. Right? Try this with friends, especially, I don't know, it's kind of a fun exercise for social engineering. Take somebody in your life who disagrees with something. Politics is a fun one to play, but that might not be a good place for you to start.
Right.
But it is kind of fun because when people can't defend their point, when, I believe in this thing and I'm so like, and, nobody's going to challenge it. And then when you challenge it, if they can't defend it, they usually do one of two things. They change the subject, or they attack your character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's always a good tell when I ask somebody why. And if it goes there, it's like, well, go bring it back. And oftentimes you'll find out that people never really actually considered their why.
Yeah, they don't really.
Oh, yeah, understand. Absolutely. Totally. The one thing I will say, when I started the cohort, and you're in there day one, and it's like, oh my God, these people, like, they have their own MSPs. They've had, they're so technical that at first I was like really intimidated. And then as the weeks kind of have gone by and we've all kind of gotten to know each other, I can't tell you how kind everybody is, right? And there's like this camaraderie that everybody wants everyone to succeed in that class, like no matter where you're from, what you do, in your professional or personal lives. But I really do feel like there's some sort of camaraderie that's developed amongst all of us, and it's been really, really nice.
Yeah, I think Glenn's doing a fantastic job of pulling people together and allowing the expertise of the group, because none of us have all the answers. And so it's pulling the expertise of the group, and that's what's building our community. So, it's not unique to your cohort. It's been every single cohort that we've done, and we're on cohort 11, starts in October.
That's amazing. And because I think it's really, it's the way I'll describe it, it's like a safe zone, right? Yeah, like it's a safe zone to have access to a lot of technical experts and ask your questions where you're not going to be judged. You're not going to be laughed at or ridiculed, but instead people are going to be genuinely helping you. And it's been amazing to, like, that's, if you really kind of think about it as you're growing your business, to have access to that type of platform it's like to have access to like 15 to 20 people who can bring so many different perspectives. Like, wow, right? That's a great gift.
Exactly.
I love that. Exactly. I love that because, you share your experiences. It's a fine line between sharing your experiences to intimidate somebody versus, or posture, or to share your experiences so that they can relate to it. You know what I mean? And see themselves in your story, right? You share your story and they're like, oh, I had that same issue. And that's how you solved it. And I was talking to Meg yesterday. Meg, we were talking about this. If people knew how messed up I actually am, you wouldn't be so damn intimidated. I've been in this industry, for 30 some odd years, but that doesn't make me any better than anybody else. And I'm still learning every single day, all the time. That curiosity, like you have, Sonal, that's amazing to hear. Because when you talk about like hacker, right? Hacker, what's a hacker? A hacker is people who have that curiosity to figure out how something works. It has nothing to do with technology.
Yeah.
Right.
If you've used duct tape before, you're a hacker. I mean, that's what it
true.
is.
Yeah.
So don't get intimidated if somebody can hack your vacuum cleaner to give your cat a ride, on the living room floor. The duct tape you just used to hold your, maybe, but that's no more special than, the things you do every day anyway.
Yeah.
So don't be intimidated.
So next week you're going to start the learning how to do the assessment. How do you think that you're going to approach administering assessments once you have that knowledge?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. I think that I first need to really understand where the client's at, right? Like kind of understand, first of all, why they want to do this, right? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to achieve? And then based off of that, I think I will need to sort of take them on a journey, right? Because what I've found in this whole assessment process, when I was on the client side of it, these questions, I always was like, oh, no, we are doing this or we aren't doing this. Like you almost feel like you have to defend yourself, right? And my approach is going to be more about, hey, we're on a journey together. I'm not here to judge your environment. What I'm here to do is really to help you get to a better place. And I think that's going to have to be a message that is consistently iterated and reiterated, because people get defensive when you start asking about how or why they're doing something. And so I think my approach is going to have to start with, hey, there's going to be some questions that you're not going to be comfortable about. And, again, I'm not here to judge. We're just here to get to a better place.
Yeah.
So, that's how I plan to start.
One of the things I noticed, because before I started at Security Studio, I was also an analyst, and they hired me as a part of what I did to go into their proprietary schools and do the risk assessment and kind of work them through that process.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed was the bias. So if I'm interviewing the IT person, the bias on what they're doing well within the organization versus facility management. So when I was talking to him and doing the interview, and the assessment will use things like a thorough, they'll use definitive statements, and he'll be like, well, we have this, but it's not really what we want it to be, but we do have that. And I was like, well, if it's not really what, let's focus on some of the key words here in the statement. If you're not there and you think that there's improvement, then maybe no is the right answer. Because that's what's going to force you to look at this piece and make those improvements that need to be improved, because it's going to show up on your roadmap.
Yeah. I think I have, one of the advantages of being a consultant is that you are always called in when something is wrong, right? It's like you've got to go in there and you've got to try to fix it. So you're really kind of trying to build yourself out of a mountain of crap, right? So most times, especially in large organizations, when you walk in, nobody likes you. And so you've got to really kind of get yourself out of the hole and then get people to like you, and also add value at the same time fairly quickly. And I think those traits will probably help with administering some of these things too, because it's very similar, right? You're walking in the door and you're proving that you are a trusted leader or a trusted advisor, and that you're going to get them to a better place. So, I think for me, one of the challenges that I come across a lot, and, not that I want to change the topic of this podcast at all, but being a female, it's almost like walking onto to buy a new car, right? Where they're going to always talk to my husband. And I'm like, hey, I'm the one writing the check here, right? And I think I get the same things oftentimes with security, right? It's like walking in and, making sure that people understand that, hey, I can talk the talk, which is another reason why I decided to take this, because I wanted to be able to say, yeah, I can cite these, policies, or I could cite, these things and prove to you that let's go toe to toe if you want to.
Right, right. And it definitely is a male dominant world.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Industry. I went from K-12, which was 95% female, to this industry, which is flipped. So, but I tend to like men better than women.
Yeah.
Just
I'm with
relate
you.
better.
Well, and it's like everybody's got like a tools, you know what I mean? Because women definitely have tools that I don't have.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've got tools that they don't have. And so I've seen like just one of the people who just retired, Lori at FR Secure, she had just an amazing security practitioner, probably the best I've ever seen. I mean, she had more experience than me. She was part of the group that had written part of the Rainbow series. I mean, she's been around for a long time, and she just retired. And the fact that we got to be part of her final part of the journey was like so. It was a huge honor. But anyway, when she did assessments, she was just so self-aware that she knew the tools that she had that she was going to bring to bear. Like, she was very good at establishing relational rapport.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And was able to get, like, if I was to do the same assessment that she did, she got better answers because she was able to capitalize on her tool set better than I was on my tool set.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I think for women in this industry, it is a male-dominated sport, but I think, and I'm not a woman, so I don't know that perspective, but I think a woman who is really self-aware in this industry can probably outperform a man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Well, thinking back to the thought of doing your first assessment. So now you're no longer on the receiving end.
Yeah.
You're through the course and you have to do that first assessment. What keeps you up at night thinking about that?
I think it's more about getting that assessment rather than doing the assessment. It's I think making sure that I come off as a trusted advisor, that somebody, like an expert in this field that is going to add value, and this is not just something we're going to do because you've paid me to do it, right? Like I want to make sure that I leave with like a mark of positive engagement and that I helped them, right? Like I don't want them to think, well, gosh, I spent that, whatever, hundreds of dollars and, I got the score, but great. Like I want to make sure that we come out of it where they've learned something, they feel like they've been engaged and that they're on this journey, that they really did go on a journey with me. Yeah. And it's not just a one thing and a number, the score.
Right. That's awesome. I remember when I was going to do my first assessment. Oh my gosh. I did not sleep at all because I didn't have the technical chops. And so I was like, when I asked this question, if he asked me something about it, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? How am I going to handle that? But Evan, you say all the time, surround yourself or borrow the credibility of other people.
Yeah.
And so I always made sure that I was in tight with that IT person. And when it came to that board meeting that we had to present, anytime there was a question that was over my head, then I just relied on my IT person and just said,
Yeah.
I think, so-and-so would be better at answering that.
Yeah.
And it worked.
That trust, credibility, and likability is so important. So oftentimes when I'm working with clients, I'm kind of keeping a mental balance, of where I'm at in those things. Because if it is your first assessment, you may not want to do it, but is there anything wrong with telling them it's your first assessment?
Right.
You know what I mean?
True.
Because that's a huge investment in trust. And the reason why you still want to work with me is, well, obviously the trust. And I have all this credibility that I can bring to bear that I don't possess myself, but I have access to it all.
Right.
Because I think a lot of times people feel intimidated about doing security work because they feel like they have to come off as somebody who's done this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you haven't. So why act like you have?
Right.
Just go ahead and, and you may think that's going to be hard to get clients, but you'll get the right kind of client that's going to meet you at that time because really what you're investing in when you're investing in a vCISO or you're investing in a CISO isn't how awesome they are. It's the relationship. You get a relationship with me. And am I the kind of person that you can work with to provide value to your business? Because I might suck at multi-factor authentication. I don't even know what the hell that is. But I'm trustworthy, I'm honest, and I'll go find out what the hell multi-factor authentication is, and I'll master that shit for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's okay to not know shit, because there's tons of shit I don't know. I'm 30 years in this industry. How many more years do I need in this industry before I actually feel like I'm competent?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
I remember when I was talking to the board for that assessment, which was intimidating as well. However, in my previous life, talking to the board was something that I was used to. So that brought me a little bit of comfort. But whole new topic, content area, very different than how I had been used to talking to the board. And I remember just, when you teach people and you can see or feel that light bulb moment happen, where all of a sudden they get it. I experienced that. And it gives me goosebumps to this day, because as an educator, there's nothing more important than experiencing that moment with learners. And that's something that keeps you motivated and keeps you moving forward, because when you see, and the light bulb moment was the unity that this is not an IT problem, this is an organization problem. And the IT person had been telling me they just don't get it. Like, they don't see that they think that this is just my problem to fix. They don't see that it's the whole entire organization. And I got to experience them understand that this was an organization issue. And that was super cool.
Yeah.
That's
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We talk about, administering that assessment, and I'm a big planner. Obviously, my background is in project management. So I've actually gone through and identified, okay, what are some areas within this assessment that are my weak areas, right? I mean, I'm not perfect. And those areas where I know that I might stumble a bit if I get asked some questions as I'm administering it, I've already started kind of thinking about ways that I can, say, hey, let me come back to this, or how can I explain this better? So, if anybody's out there and they haven't done their assessment yet, you might want to go through it and just identify the areas that you might stumble on a little, and prepare a little plan for that,
Yeah.
And as somebody who's done hundreds and hundreds of assessments over the years, I've still been stumped many times. People asking me questions that I didn't have the answer to.
Yeah.
And the worst way to answer a question that you don't have the answer to is to bullshit,
Yeah.
because then you're going to destroy your credibility and your trust. The best thing to do when you run into those, because you will, is I'm not sure. Let me do a little more research and come back with a better answer. I have some thoughts around that, but I need to sit down and analyze this a little bit more. You can say things in a way that doesn't make you look incompetent, but makes you look responsible. So a lot of it comes down to the communication.
Yeah.
And you get through it. And it comes with experience. You just get your ass kicked enough times and it's good.
Yeah.
But there's nothing special really about it. I can think of times in my own career where I've been asked these really difficult questions and I didn't have the answer for it. And sometimes I answered wrong and I looked like a complete fool. There were times when I kind of navigated it okay. But the thing is, like, you grow through all that stuff, right? You have to, from being uncomfortable, you get those growth moments and then you can take those to other people, It's just,
I love that. I love that that whole, you grow when you're uncomfortable, right? But I also think, like, when you get into a situation where you might not know the answer, it's not only being okay to say I don't know and let me find out, but it's also the follow-up, right? Like, don't just say that and then never get back to them, right? Like, say that, and then the follow-up is just as important.
Absolutely. So, speaking of communication, how do you see yourself marketing and selling your business?
Yeah. So this is part of, like, I think this is the part that I actually do really, like, I enjoy this part a lot. And I never thought that I would be this, like, biz dev person, but I actually do enjoy it. And I've molded myself into a biz dev person. So, from a marketing perspective, I do a lot of digital marketing stuff where I do a lot of automated emails and lead generation through that. I network a lot. I go and try to have small speaking engagements to smaller groups, or I target, smaller organizations that I know might not know a lot about security or AI, and, I go and have those conversations. I do have a podcast that I host, and I do some blogging. So, these are just a couple of ways that I try to market myself and my company, and do things like this, join another podcast, right? So really just kind of getting out there and putting myself out there and talking about the things that I care about that I think are important.
Yeah. Building your credibility.
Yeah.
I think, like, I was talking to a friend of mine who sucks at friending, but we're talking, no, actually it was last week, Meg, we were talking about likability.
Right.
And I think when you're transparent, when you're just who you are, you attract you attract people. You attract the right kind of people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, as you grow your business, I can remember those days. People don't like to hear it, but I lost my house, when we started, not long after we started FR Secure, because we didn't have any business. And I came from I was a CISO at a pretty large pharmaceutical company, and I could have just gone back into the market and gotten another job and saved my house. But that wasn't the purpose. That wasn't the why for me. The why for me wasn't it was this mission, right? And so we just stayed devoted to the mission. But I think the important thing, because I get a lot of people ask me, give me some advice on starting a business and whatever. And the number one advice, the number one most important piece of advice, that's a lot of words, is to commit.
Yes.
Commit to it. I know it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Absolutely.
And scary.
And scary. And just like an assessment, just like information security, just like learning something new, it's hard.
Yeah.
But you commit to it. You're going to live.
Yeah.
If you might lose your house. So what? I mean, for me, so what? I have a nicer house now. I mean, I live in
Yeah.
flipping paradise. You stay focused on that mission and you'll make money. If you focus on the money, you won't make the mission.
Yeah.
So just staying focused on why you're doing this, why you're growing your business, commit to it. You'll find your way. There's no like magic pill. There's no like, we'll just do these things. No, this is your business, and it's going to be a reflection of you in the marketplace. And people are going to want to work with you in the marketplace. And then you'll have these customers that will be long-term, dedicated, loyal customers because it was you. It wasn't a fake version of you.
Yeah.
It was you. And so I think growing your business is super exciting to see, where you're going, and just being able to be a part of it, like to speak some encouragement, hopefully, into your life, because I can just tell from talking with you that you're a person who's in this game for the right reasons. You want to help people. You don't want to take advantage of people.
Yeah.
You and I and others like us will create this community, and we can put those others out of business. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I love what you're doing with your business, and I
Thank
want to
you.
help.
No,
I
I really appreciate that. I really do. And it's funny because I've started quoting the mission, right? And I've kind of weaved that into my conversations, and I've had some people kind of raise an eyebrow, right? Like, what are you talking about, right? And then when you sort of kind of go a little bit deeper, it's interesting to sort of see how they, are part of the mission too, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, thank you for that. I think that that's been really helpful. It's a really great talking point too.
Yeah. Speaking about being a part of the mission. So I'm going to pull an Evan right now. You got it? Ready? No, I'm not going to twist in my chair. But Evan likes to put out there what he's going to commit to before he really understands what he's committing to.
all the time.
And so
That's ADHD, by the way.
I'm gonna pull an Evan. Sono, tell him about the project that you talked about us working together on.
Yeah. So being in the cohort, I've learned, or just kind of observing, everybody asks, how do you sell this? How do you sell this? And I think that there's some tips, and I understand why we don't cover it in this coursework, right? This is not a coursework to talk about selling. It's a coursework to learn about security. Right. And so I told Meg that, I love like the selling piece of it. And that's kind of like something that I've all of a sudden really became good at. And I would love to be able to put together some coursework to teach these people who are going through this journey, how do you sell? Here's some, quick tips on, here's some tools you could use, just to kind of help them kickstart that selling process before they, as they kind of are exiting the program.
Yes.
So excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. I suck at selling. That's why I lost my house.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things for like a mission driven person who's like so just driven by the damn mission is I would do all of this for free.
Yeah.
All of it. I mean, which obviously you can't run a business that way. There's no selling anything.
Yeah.
And so, people like you who get the security stuff and like see the value and know how to sell. Oh my God, that's golden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what part did I commit to in all of this, Meg, that I didn't do again?
Well, no, I'm not committing you.
I do that a lot.
I know you do. Trust me, I know you do. But I'm saying that I'd like to commit to that and us working on a project together, Sonal, and possibly and bringing in, our sales guy, and putting together a module that we can do, because you're right. This isn't the first. If you're hearing it in this cohort, you're not the first ones and you won't be the last ones. Like that is the common thing that we hear in every single cohort is kind of the now what?
Yeah.
Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to sort of close the loop, right? We talk about, every single aspect and, whether you're here just to become more knowledgeable or you're really, passionate about the mission. But then in order for us to spread the word, to spread that mission, we need to be able to figure out how do we get out there and then start spreading it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a piece that would really add tremendous value to the people who are going through the journey.
Right. Exactly.
Totally. I totally agree with that.
And
that's part of this body and there's different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have skill sets, and that's the thing about this is a people problem, and you're a people. Mm-hmm. You're part of the solution, or you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's all people. It's not just, techie guy who can hack vacuum cleaners and do whatever the hell else stupid shit I do. It's people that can talk to people, that can sell. It's it's just so cool to meet you and hear your perspective on all this stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't think I ever thought that I would be on a podcast with Evan Francine. So it's really an honor. So I appreciate it.
And I really wish I could see the elephant head in your background.
Oh, it's a horse.
Oh, horse.
The horse. Yeah. I was telling Meg that because we just recently moved from, wait a minute. What is that?
Some kind of
steer head.
Horn steer. Oh, it's a steer. Okay, well, I'll raise your steer with a horse head, but you can't see it. It's like Godfather back there. If you've ever watched the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was telling us when she bought the house, there's this horse head that's built into the wall.
So, no, we're renting. And and we were scrambling to find a place. And then when we finally found one, we literally must have gotten like 5 minutes to run through the house and see it because they were just going off the market. And they had like a line of people outside to see it next. God. And then when we finally got it, and then when we moved in, I was like, oh, he forgot to take this thing. And it's just a horse head that's hanging out of the wall. And then we looked closer, and it's actually part of the paneling. So, So every day I get to say good morning to Kasha. My kids have named this horse Kasha, and we dress Kasha up for all the holidays. And, football season's coming up, so we're about to throw some jerseys on this thing.
That's fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sonal. This has been enlightening, refreshing, and any other adjective that is positive and uplifting. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. This has been such an honor. So I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to continue to collaborate.
Awesome.
I agree.
All right, guys.
See you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.